So I have a few questions.
I have the answers too.
Explain to them the relationship, Jack and Gower and Betty.
Well, Betty and Jack had been married in the scene, and then he went off to the war, and she got word that he was killed in action, and so after a few months, she married Gower. And of course, on closing night for the show that they had both written, and they were writing partners, and I was just around waiting for her to.
Gower.
No, I was waiting. I would have taken either one of them because this was called Too Many Husbands when it was a straight movie.
Oh, really?
And of course, when he showed up at the closing night, that started up this problem. Betty could never really face him and say, I married Gower. They didn't have those names, obviously. But I just kind of hung around waiting for her to make up her mind so I could have the other one. It was a very simple story, and there are several numbers with Betty and Jack, Down Boys, really full-fledged Jack Cole numbers.
It's that film where Jack and Gower are in her apartment.
Yes. But they staged.
It's another classical piece.
Yeah, but they staged that. Jack and Gower staged it. And Hank Potter was the director. And he had never directed a musical, and he was totally run over by all these male actors and choreographers. And Jack and Gower were having a great time staging that one because...
it was great fun.
And I'm talking about Jack Lemmon.
Yeah.
And so when they shot it, I can remember Henry Potter saying, "I think we ought to make it a little shorter." I think, and they said, "You've got an editor. I mean, you can shorten it up if you want to." And they went on making it, and I tell you, it was just a fabulous number that the two of them did together.
Fabulous.
Get 3 for the show.
Yeah.
It is available. I showed it at Jacob's Pillow. Matt Maddox showed something, and I showed that one. And the people couldn't believe what they saw on the screen because in those days, it was not a really successful movie, but in those days, satire closed Saturday night, as you remember George F. Kaufman said. But now we have nothing but satire. So it really holds up very well.
You know, it was rather audacious to... Pat Denise replaced Betty Grable?
Pat Denise, who was my dance-in, replaced Betty Grable because she had blonde hair. Betty had been excused from the production. She had finished most of the work, and she wasn't terribly well. She wanted to get back to Las Vegas. And so they just put Pat, who was a wonderful ballerina dancer. I mean, she was with, I think, Ballet Theater.
But, you know, for the audience to buy that, Pat, we knew the relationship, we knew the story, and who's this stranger? You know? Well,
it happened because Mr. Cohen had gone to see Swan Lake down at the Shrine Auditorium. There was a great Russian ballerina that brought it to L.A. named Ulanova. And he came back the next day, and he called Jack into the office, and he said he had seen it. So I want that music. And Jack said, he said, I want that music. And he tried to explain to Mr. Cohen that it was a rather well-known ballet. And I always call this number Jack's Revenge.
That was the next question I had for you. Where did that come from? Obviously from you, Jack's Revenge.
Oh, is it called that now?
I know it by that.
Okay.
People talk
no,
about it.
I named it that because he was so embarrassed to have to put together this thing. Of course, I was in heaven because I had been sort of hanging around whenever he was directing Betty Grable, as you saw in the first cut. I was always hanging around, somewhere in the stage, watching him direct her. And he did. He directed every eyebrow. I mean, it was amazing to watch. There was only one thing that was difficult, and that was I wanted the story part of it to somehow get over, because with Pat doing Betty, it didn't really make much sense. And of course, Jack Lemmon was doing himself. That was kind of a send-up of the whole triangle between all of us.
But, you know, she's right. Go get 3 for the show. You'll have a terrific time. One of my favorite Marge and Gower numbers is Something to Watch Over Me. There is that love triangle, but they have to rehearse their number for the show. And in the course of it, there's dialogue. And
I talked and talked and talked and talked throughout that.
It was brilliant. Yeah. And in the end, the relationship is consummated, so to speak.
Not literally.
No.
You just get the idea that maybe we did like each other.
You want him. So I think we should, can I move on?
Of course. Yes.
Do you remember earlier this evening I said something about I Don't Care Girl at the 72nd Street Theater? So here is another Jack gem from that film. Beale Street.